Welcome to Betsy's Nighttime Comforts. I'm your host, Betsy. Before we dive into tonight's tale, I want to share a comforting moment from my day. I have two golden doodle brothers, Cole and Chip, who are just 5 months old and brimming with mischief. As we walked through the brisk Iowa air, I decided to pause instead of rushing them along. I watched with delight as they playfully tackled each other, competing for dominance over a leaf. It was far more soothing to take a step back and savor their joyful antics than to hurry through their walk. In tonight's episode, we find Virginia and Earnest delivering unsettling news to Mabel and Terence as they prepare to leave town for an extended period. Unbeknownst to them, however, Frank, the neighborhood watchman, is closely following their every move, his instincts telling him something is amiss. Virginia and Earnest, aware of Frank's watchful eyes, take advantage of his curiosity to further their devious plans. As the story unfolds, Frank's pursuit leads him into a chilling game of cat and mouse, where deception and danger lurk behind the smiles of his seemingly friendly neighbors. Now let's settle into a comfortable position. Rest your shoulders and relax. Let's take a couple of deep breaths before we start. Inhale deeply through your nose and exhale gently through your mouth, letting the worries of the day fade away. One more time. Fascinating Facades, Part 5, Deceptive Neighbors. The morning sun poured through the windows of Mabel and Terence's home, illuminating the cozy space with a warm glow. Virginia and Earnest stood inside, their demeanor deceptively cheerful, having arrived early to deliver a seemingly innocent message. "We wanted to let you know we'll be leaving tomorrow," Virginia said, her tone smooth and friendly. "I need to care for my sister, Lucille. She's very ill." Mabel's brow furrowed with concern. "Oh no, how long do you expect to be gone?" "Could be 6 months, maybe a year," Earnest replied nonchalantly, as if discussing the weather ran through the well-being of a family member. "We won't leave until Lucille is better." Mabel nodded slowly, uncertainty clouding her expression. "That's quite a while. How can Gina afford to miss so much work?" "Gina is wealthy," Earnest cut in, a gleam of pride in his eyes. "She does social media. She has a fan page, you know." Virginia shot him a funny look, but Earnest continued unfazed. "And her husband Earl does community volunteer work. She needs a lot of quiet time to herself to get her work done." "Well, if you'd let all the neighbors know, we have to get home and pack," Virginia said, her smile never wavering. As the couple left Mabel's house and walked down the street, they were aware that Frank was lurking in the bushes beside his home, heart racing as he listened intently. "Virginia, he's harmless," Earnest laughed, glancing back toward the bushes. "We scared the crap out of him." "I can't believe he pissed himself," he added, chuckling at the memory. "Let's go get our clothes taken to the dump," Virginia suggested, her eyes glinting with mischief. "I talked with Leo and Ted yesterday. They have a new car ready. They can dispose of this one." "Everything is in place," Earnest said, his voice low and conspiratorial. "Frank thinks we're spies, but if he only knew we're high-end assassins, he wouldn't just piss himself, he'd shit himself." Frank watched through his half-closed window shade as Virginia and Earnest loaded their clothes into their car, suspicion gnawing at him. "What are they up to?" he muttered to himself, peering out cautiously. "I guess if they're leaving, they must be packing the car." "Don't be stupid, Frank. It's watchman mode. I gotta follow them." He quickly grabbed his keys and hopped into his car, adrenaline coursing through his veins. Instead of heading to the dump, Virginia and Earnest drove to a nearby shooting range. Frank parked a short distance away, his heart pounding as he watched them. Once he parked, he slipped out of his car, determined to keep them in his sights. As he approached, he was startled to find Virginia and Earnest standing right there, a mischievous glint in their eyes. "Going shooting, Frank?" Earnest asked, feigning innocence. "Be careful. You never know when a bullet might ricochet back and hit you right between the eyes. That would be a fast death." Frank stammered, "No, I'm just here to watch. I wanted to see if this is something I might enjoy. I spent all my time keeping the neighborhood safe, but never held a gun." "Well, come on in. You can shoot with us," Virginia urged, her voice dripping with a false sense of friendliness. "That's okay," Frank replied, his voice trembling. "You go ahead. I need to sit and work up the nerve to actually go in." "Well, if you want help, we're professional shooters," Earnest said, exchanging a knowing look with Virginia. Instead of entering the range, however, they turned back to their car, and Frank, still shaken, didn't even notice they had left. They headed to the dump where they disposed of all their clothes, effectively severing ties with their former identities. When they returned, they made their way over to Frank's house, bringing with them a special tea, a so-called going-away gift. Frank felt a wave of nervousness wash over him as they presented it, but the warm smiles on their faces disarmed him. "Here, Frank," Virginia said sweetly. "We thought you might enjoy this." Frank hesitated, but ultimately accepted the tea, feeling the weight of their gaze on him. They all sat together, the atmosphere thick, with a false sense of camaraderie. As they sipped the tea, Frank quickly found himself growing drowsy, the warmth of the beverage wrapping around him like a comforting blanket. "Feeling a bit tired there, Frank?" Earnest asked, feigning concern. "You don't look so well." "Maybe you should have some more tea," Virginia suggested, her smile widening. "It will help you sleep." Before he knew it, Frank was knocked out, his body succumbing to the effects of the tea. The world around him faded into darkness, and he was lost in a deep, dreamless sleep that lasted well into the next day. When he finally awoke, confusion washed over him. Groggy and disoriented, he glanced at the clock and realized with a jolt it was far later than he had anticipated. Panic filled him as he remembered the urgency of the situation. "What time is it?" he muttered, glancing out the window. His heart dropped as he saw flashing lights and commotion in the distance. A news report blared on the television, announcing that a president from another country had been shot. The gravity of the situation crashed down on him like a tidal wave, and he rushed to the window to see what was happening. As he peered outside, A sleek new BMW pulled up in front of the house, smoothly gliding into the garage. Frank's instincts kicked in, and he went over to meet the new young couple stepping out of the car. Little did he know that this young couple was none other than Virginia and Earnest, cloaked in their true identities until they receive a new mission, ready to continue their deadly task while Frank remains blissfully unaware. As you settle into the silence of the evening, take a moment to reflect on the layers of deception that often lie hidden beneath the surface of everyday life. How well do we truly know those around us? Allow your thoughts to drift like leaves in the autumn breeze, gently letting go of any tension you may hold. Remember, sometimes the most ordinary moments can hide the most extraordinary secrets. Pleasant dreams and good night.